Downtown San Antonio, PBC action on NBCSN. We'll start things off with Darwin Price and Semajay Thomas. Two young men, undefeated, super lightweight, scheduled for 8 rounds. We take a look at the Corona tail of the tape. Price is 3 years older. He is the taller fighter. He has a big reach advantage on Thomas. How will that play out? And the rules, 10-point must system, no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the ref can stop the fight. Accidental foul, the fight is official after 4 completed rounds. Let's go to arena announcer Ray Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Scottish Rite Theater here in San Antonio, Texas. Live on NBCSN, this is Premier Boxing Champions. The action begins with 8 rounds in the super lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the red with the black, as a professional, undefeated, 7 wins, 4 of those coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Chicago, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Semajay Thomas. And his opponent fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the navy with the red. As a professional, he too is undefeated. 12 wins, 11 of those coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Houston, Texas by way of St. Louis, Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Darwin Price.
And here they come, Thomas from Chicago, Price from St. Louis. In itself, cities with great rivalries. You think of the Cubs and the Cardinals especially there.
Yeah, me being a Cardinals fan, you know, it's
me.
Deep rivalries there, Kenny. But, you know, yesterday in the fighter meetings, we got a lot of good stuff from both these kids. And, you know, they told us all the time, you know, they used to spar all the time in Houston. And, you know, it's just going to be an exciting fight.
They were both with Ronnie Shields. You see him there in the corner now of Darwin Price. And now Semajay Thomas is back with trainer Derek James. They sparred. Neither man yesterday, when we talked about it, was too impressed. They didn't make a big deal out of it because they said it's going to be a lot different tonight. Price wasn't that impressed. Thomas wasn't that impressed. Just kind of what you like to see, right, with 2 guys getting ready to fight.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just a lot of times in sparring, you know, you're not completely ready. You're out of shape. One thing happens, you know, but both guys have had plenty of time to prepare for the fight. So we're going to see the better man tonight.
Thomas did tell us that he thinks Price is more of an in and out guy, and he's going to try to pressure him early and also get inside there as he did landing that left, because he's trying to take away a little bit of that reach advantage, a big reach advantage that Price has.
Immediately, Kenny, you see the very wide stance of Darwin Price. You know, really trying to put that jab out there. And, you know, Thomas told us yesterday, look, I expect Price to box. He's going to move, he's going to try to box, he's going to stay on the outside, and it's my job to cut the ring off, get inside, and make him pay. Left-handed Price is going to be key tonight.
Price comes back with a nice right. Thomas charges in. Price slips. And that was a slip.
So you can't back straight up, Kenny. Price went straight to the ropes, and you know, Thomas was following him there, and he shot a punch when you know, Price was on the ropes, and it cost him.
Well, just as Thomas said, he planned on putting the pressure early, and that's what he's done in the first minute of this fight, and bouncing off the ropes again is Price. And now he comes back with some punches of his own, and lands the right, and going down is Thomas.
Big right hand, slide over the top of the guard of Thomas. Thomas doesn't expect that kind of power from Price. With the big sparring gloves on in the headgear, you don't feel it, Kenny.
That's exactly right. 5 knockouts and 9 wins for Price, and he's recorded a knockdown here in the first.
Darwin's still trying to get his distance. You see that wide stance. He almost fell out of the ring again over on our side, Kenny, but he's got to shorten that stance down a little bit and you know, keep off the ropes.
See how Thomas regroups, and he is aggressive now after being knocked down.
And you see Thomas not really looking to set anything up, Kenny. He's just lunging in with that left hook. So he's going to have to do a couple things, because I think with the boxing pedigree of Price, he's not going to be able to just lunge in with that left hook and land it.
And also that reach advantage, the height and reach advantage that Price has.
And so far in this first round, he's utilized that reach pretty well. You know, Thomas has gotten close and landed some shots, no question about it. But
Price, a bit of a wrestling match there as they go into the corner and now back out.
You know, it's the first round. Both guys are trying to show their physical strength. They're trying to show, hey, when you get close to me, I'm going to manhandle you. So You know, both guys trying to dictate their terms of the fight.
Similar in a lot of ways, as we mentioned. They used to both be in the Shields gym in Houston. They have sparred against each other. Price has been a pro for 2 years and 10 months. Thomas a pro for 2 years and 9 months.
Very similar careers so far. And, you know, both guys have a lot to prove, Kenny. They told us, you know, yesterday in the fighter meetings, they're both hungry and they're both going to win this fight. And they said it, you know, with the amount of confidence that, you know, you want to believe them. Both guys really genuinely think they're going to win tonight.
As you would expect with guys who are both undefeated at this stages in their career. Final seconds of round 1. Good start here for Darwin Price. He records a knockout in that first round, a knockdown for Thomas. Darwin Price catching him with that big right, BJ.
Yeah, and we see how it happened here. You see the nice combination by Price a second ago. Jab, right hand, hook to the body, and then as Thomas is backing up, he shoots that overhand right over the top, and it's still the first round. You know, both guys are trying to get their bearings. Caught him, wins the round 10-8.
As you see, Semajay Thomas getting up after being knocked down. He knows that oh so well. At the age of 16, he was falsely accused and arrested and spent 15 months incarcerated awaiting trial. He was an honor student at a Chicago prep. There was a man who was murdered that was in the vicinity of his neighborhood. Some witnesses came forward and falsely accused Thomas. It took 15 months for those witnesses to recant their story. No DNA evidence ever found. A jury acquitted him of all charges. And instead of being a bitter man, as we talked to him in depth yesterday about it, Thomas said he's never looked back. It was a learning experience, and he's looking forward to having a great pro career.
An amazing story, Kenny. I can't believe what it would be like to be wrongfully convicted of murder. And he said he wasted 15 months of his life, but instead of being bitter when he got out, he said, I'm going to get right back to the gym. His mom had a party for him the next day, and he skipped that party, and he went to the gym just to show the type of dedication and focus that he's got. So I really like what I heard from Semajay Thomas yesterday.
He was talking about how in the prison yard where he would go out and run and train, suddenly the other inmates started training with him and encouraging him on. They all believed in him. They believed in him, and they still do. And now Thomas believing in himself here, coming back after being knocked down by Price in that first round.
And you know, the type of mentality that Thomas has that we saw in the fighter meetings yesterday, you know, he showed, hey, I'm going to persevere, I'm going to hang in there. You know, a knockdown in the first round is not going to deter him too much, I don't believe. He's come out nicely in the second round.
Thomas charging in, taking the action along the ropes. Price in that blue and red gets it right back out into the center.
And Price has got to be careful for the left hook of Thomas. The main mistake you don't want to make when you're moving straight back like Price is getting hit with that left hook. And it seems like Thomas is trying to crank that punch up. See right there.
Straight right in a little bit did Price that last time. Thomas shook him off though.
But you see Thomas, I'm talking about how nice his left hook is when Price is backing straight up. That doesn't mean he could just load up with a punch and lunge. He's got to set up with other punches and then you know, look to use it as a third or a fourth punch in the combination to catch a backing up Price.
Price, this is the third time in the last 4 fights that he has been in the state of Texas. Based now in Houston, the St. Louis native.
But you see the foot speed and the hand speed of Price, Ken. You know, he was a track star at Grambling, and this kid really knows how to run. He told us yesterday he had a 1:48 time in the 800, and you know, just really was a fast, all-around athlete. So you see that kind of athleticism in Price.
And Price has been boxing since the age of 15, 120 amateur fights, fought in the Gold Glove ranks. At one time was ranked 6th nationally. We'll have more on his track career in a few moments. Right now, he's having to do some dancing around there as Thomas continues to come in on him, and now he gets some distance, firing in, doubling up on that jab, this Price.
Nice use of that left hand, Kenny. It's going to be key, like we talked about in the first round. He's got to use that punch. He's got to touch Thomas on the way in and discourage him from walking in and cranking up those big shots. You see the high guard of Thomas, and what Price can do to offset that is use that jab and stab it to the body.
Final seconds, round 2. Undefeated, Price and Thomas. Third round action coming up when we come back.
Look, you see all the stuff coming.
And there you see Ronnie Shields talking with his fighter, Darwin Price.
Okay? That's all
Price may be one of the fastest guys he's ever worked with. He was a track star at Grambling, a member of the Southwest Athletic Conference, where 7 times he was the MVP in indoor and outdoor events. And he's had victories in Texas. He won the Texas Relays. And before that, he was an all-star runner in the state of Missouri, where he won the 800-mile and 2-mile. He was the state champ and caught the attention of Grambling.
You know, that's unbelievable. I was a track runner myself in high school. To win the 8, the mile, and the 2 is just, you know, I think they run all those races within a period of a day or two. So that should be the best at all of them. This kid's obviously very dedicated, focused, and good right hand by Thomas.
That was Thomas's best punch so far.
Yeah, good shot, but both guys are very dedicated.
Semajay Thomas in the red and black. Trying to cut off the ring a little bit more now on Price. Price scored a knockdown in the first round.
And Kenny, the key to cutting off the ring against a guy like this who's moving, trust me, it's not as easy as it looks, but you got to attack the body. You know, Price is going straight back. He's got to step to him and really focus on that body and make him pay every time he lets his hands go.
Jake Donovan with us, who is our unofficial scorer as we go into this third round. Jake, how's everything looking so far?
So far, I have it 20-17 for Darwin Price. Semajay Thomas is doing the things right in the third round that he should have been doing in the second. He's throwing the punches, but he's not setting anything up. Darwin Price was dictating the pace. Right now, Semajay Thomas is enjoying a good third round thus far, but I have a 2-0 Darwin Price.
Thanks, Jake. Unofficial scorecard brought to you by Mobile Strike.
Nice right hand by Price a second ago, Kenny, and he blinded Thomas with that double jab. He shot that, distracted him, and then he fired the right hand right down the pipe. You see the temperament of Thomas, walking forward, hands up, looking for that one big shot. I think he's better served to break the body down and let the big shot come whenever he sets it up.
Blood now coming from the nose of Semajay Thomas. He's felt a lot of good jabs from Price.
Needs to work on taking that punch away. Nice left hook from Thomas, Kenny.
And coming back is Price with a right.
And this is a good fight. These are the kind of fights we like. You know, one guy winning the first 2 rounds, the other guy coming in strong on the third round, and you know, just shows the temperament of both of these good young fighters.
And both these guys know what's at stake here. They're both undefeated. They know this is a big night for them. They're national television, and they talked about that. It hasn't been lost on what a victory would mean for them tonight.
Not at all, and they both recognize that a loss is a big step backwards, even if it is to a good up-and-coming prospect. You know, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely pushes you back in line, and neither guys are trying to get pushed back right now.
Semajay Thomas with his best round so far, under 20 seconds to go in the third.
Price got to be careful falling in. He's shooting those combinations, and he's kind of over his feet. He's not in a good defensive position to get out of the way of the counter shots of Thomas.
Thomas not backing down at all, not down in the first round, coming back here with a good third round.
Been super impressed with Thomas this round, Kenny. Let's see what he can do next round.
Thomas goes to his corner.
Good stuff from Thomas in the corner. You see him banging away at Price. Price trying to get out of the way of those combinations, but Thomas had a very strong round. Let's see what he can do in this next round. Continue to land that left hook.
There's the corner of Semajay Thomas, his trainer Derek James. Thomas, 23-year-old from Chicago, 7-0 coming in here. And he's coming off his best round as we go into round 4. Thomas has never been past 4 rounds. Darwin Price in the red and blue off to a good start. These super lightweights, round 4 of 8.
And Kenny, that could definitely come into play. You know, he's never been past, you know, a certain amount of rounds, but you know, that doesn't mean he can't. So we got to reserve judgment until we see what happens in the next couple rounds.
And Keith Thurman, perhaps you were watching this tonight, successfully defends his title against Sean Porter.
And all 3 judges, Kenny, had it 115, 113, 7 rounds to 5. Didn't seem like anything crazy happened as far as knockdowns, but just a good, tough fight. And, you know, Thurman landing the heavier shots and just barely outdoing Porter in a great welterweight fight.
Jake's scorecard right now, Thomas unofficially getting that last round, the first one for him. It was by far his best round yet, as he was much more aggressive and landed his biggest blows.
Nice left jab by Price. And what he can do to offset the aggressiveness of Thomas is he can start to taunt and feint. He can use those to freeze Thomas and hold him up just in spots where he can get those combinations off and start to get control of the tempo of this fight again. As you see, Thomas is starting to move forward, and Price isn't able to deter him from doing that.
There's a story right now. Price landing 20-9 with a 2-1 on jabs landed. He has controlled the tempo most of the way and used that reach to keep Thomas at bay most of the time. Thomas has been tough when he's gotten inside, BJ, which is what he wanted to do.
Yeah, he's the shorter fighter. He's got the shorter, more compact punches, and he's definitely got the advantage just because I see some holes in Price whenever he gets on the inside.
Mouthpiece is out. Got time. And the ref said go to the corner. This one belongs to Darwin Price.
And here's the problem I have with him stopping the action. You're always supposed to wait for a lull in the action before you get the mouthpiece. Both guys were exchanging right there. The referee should have let him continue until there's a lull.
You see the bloody nose and the cut under the left eye of Semajay Thomas as well.
There's been many cases, Kenny, where fighters have been hurt or whatever, spit their mouthpiece out. You know, that could be a tactic, and with this referee, he might have stopped the fight and given the guy extra time.
Look at the blood now right there on the cheek, the left cheek. You can see it under Semajay Thomas's eye. Those jabs, 2-1 count for Price, and the jab department are taking a toll right now.
And I'm curious, Kenny, because normally a cut to develop in that spot of the eye, it's normally not just a punch.
Mouthpiece flies out again. And once again, they'll put it back in the corner there of Darwin Price.
And you know, once again, both fighters were having another good moment, and the referee just immediately saw it on the ground and stopped the fight. That's not what the rules read. You got to wait for low in the action.
Thomas a little more bloodied in this round. Price tries to dig into the body.
But you see now with Price, he's not able to set his feet with his punches as well, so Thomas is starting to dictate his terms on Price.
Thomas trying to charge in, final seconds of the round. We reached the halfway point in this fight. Semajay Thomas, bloody, going to the corner. And we come back inside, moving on now. Semajay Thomas in the black and red, Darwin Price in the blue and red. Round 5 scheduled for 8. These super lightweights, it's been a strong showing tonight for Price, who had a knockdown in the first round. Thomas not going away, a cut under his cheek, busted nose, but he continues to move inside.
Well, you could tell from the temperament, Kenny, we talked about it. He was put away for 15 months, wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit, and he's got a lot of firepower. You know, that you can see the temperament and the momentum that he's got here in round number 5. He's done well the last 2 rounds.
His mental toughness is amazing, as we talked about it yesterday. Thomas getting the last round unofficially on Jake Donovan's scorecard. Brought to you by Mobile Strike. Jake, what do you think now?
Semajay Thomas has definitely put it together in the past 2 rounds. I have him inching closer, 38-37. Darwin Price is still in the lead. It's 2-2 in rounds, but Darwin Price has the edge because of that first round knockdown.
Action back in the corner. Price slides a punch in. Ref says not just yet.
You see Thomas is walking forward, Kenny. He's moving his guy back. He's able to push Darwin Price back. And, you know, Price is getting off here and there, but he's not comfortable, you can tell. So the taunts and the feints can really help him to slow the pace of this fight down and, you know, freeze Thomas for a second to get those combinations off.
Well, Price, again, the taller fighter, that reach advantage being taken away the more that Thomas gets inside, and that's what has been his bread and butter the last couple of rounds. Punches landed, it's changed a bit. Price with a big edge early, now 74-60 over Thomas.
Nice right hand over the top a second ago from Price, Kenny. You saw him just kind of push the jab out there, didn't shoot it, and then just really fired that right hand and caught Thomas.
And relentless is Semajay Thomas.
Price backing straight up. Number 1 rule, do not back straight up. Get off to a side, move your head, drop down. You back straight up, you're open for that hook or that overhand right.
As we mentioned, Price, a track star in high school and then at Grambling. He's not used to someone being right up beside him. But Thomas is.
With a time like 1:48 and 800, you're not used to anyone being anywhere around you on the track, Kenny. That is blazing speed for that race. And he said 4:11 on the indoor, which is the equivalent of about a 4:07 on outdoor. So that's real speed.
Right now, the speed's belonging to Thomas as well as the strength. He continues to get inside. and do damage to Price.
Nice straight right hand by Price on Thomas's way in. But you can see he's not getting a lot of leverage on the shot, and he's not really discouraging Thomas from walking in. He's still content to take that right hand.
Yeah, not like he was in the early part of this fight. It's becoming a fight of halves now early on for Price, and Thomas with the momentum. Final seconds here of round 5, scheduled for 8.
Good body shot by Thomas.
End of round 5. And let's take a look now at the upcoming PBC schedule. Included, we'll be back in action Saturday, August 21st on NBC with undefeated Errol the Truth Spence Jr. trying to keep his unbeaten streak alive. That's August 21st. Be sure to circle that date. The Texan, Errol Spence Jr. They love him here in the Lone Star State. We're back to action here in San Antonio. Kenny Rice, BJ Flores, glad that you're with us. For the PBC on NBCSN, it's Price and Thomas, both undefeated. And Price in the blue and red, early on looking good. He had a knockdown in the first round, but Thomas has come charging back here in the latter rounds.
And Kenny, Errol Spence, Texans aren't the only one that loves this kid. Everybody loves him because he does a lot of things correctly in the ring, and he's got the temperament of an all-around future star in 147 pounds. So, look for big things from that kid August 21st. I'm looking forward to seeing who he's facing and, what's next for him because he's just a star on the rise.
Mobile strike now with the unofficial scorecard. Jake Donovan giving that last round as well to Thomas. It's all evened up here.
And if I'm the corner of Darwin Price, I'm a little concerned because that's three rounds in a row that my fighter's possibly lost. So we need to make an adjustment and need to do something to, discourage Thomas from just walking through Price's punches. You just see those shots, Kenny. His feet aren't set. There's nothing on him.
And Thomas, not always classic boxing when he's charging in there, but he's certainly keeping Price now off balance and moving because at times it's simply a bull rush in.
Yeah, it's a bull rush like you see right there. And, Price is so worried about getting out of the way that he's not in position to punch, and his feet aren't set to really get leverage on those shots because he's more concerned on getting out of the way. So on the inside right here, he's got to really plant his feet, get position, and rip those shots, and then make a move instead of trying to move and punch simultaneously.
Thomas just missing with that right, but right back at it. Slides in the left hook. And it's a totally different looking Price from early in this fight.
Nice right hand by Price. You see him trying to time the jab of Thomas with that right hand. Kenny, he's landed that shot quite a few times, but it just hasn't had the effect because, he's not getting the leverage with his legs.
A couple of rounds ago, we opened a cut. Left cheek of Thomas. Bloodied nose of Thomas about 3 rounds back. Like you say, BJ, the power is missing right now, not getting the leverage on that right that was effective for Price early on, including a knockdown in the first round.
If you look at the record of Price, the record would suggest that, he's got a lot of knockouts and, this guy can really punch. But you see, as you're moving up sometimes, his level of opposition, not to say he hasn't fought good guys, but he's just been better than the guys he's fought, and he's been able to get him out. But you got a guy with, the same type of level, the same temperament. You see the deficiencies in setting his feet and, really getting the leverage in the punches.
Final seconds of this, the 6th round, scheduled for 8. Thomas and Price, unbeatens, continue to battle on. And welcome back. Beautiful structure downtown, just a stroll from the Riverwalk is the Scottish Rite Auditorium, completed in 1924, cost then of $1.5 million. Stands 5 stories tall. It's a classic revival temple style. Corinthian columns and bronze doors. So our interior designers are telling us, and they can seat about 2,000 when they have a theatrical production here. We're just in front of the stage. In the ring, you're seeing Price and Thomas unbeaten, and they've been going at it throughout. Round 7 is scheduled for 8. Kenny Rice and BJ Flores. Price in the blue and red. Thomas in the red and black.
I love the corner instruction from Ronnie Shields, Kenny. He told him, listen, you got to jab, right hand, move to your right. Jab, wide, and move to your left, watching out for the overhand. He said you also got to taunt and feint. Freeze this guy up. Make him pause. We'll see if Darwin Price really wants to win this fight.
Jake Donovan, unofficial score. How do you see it right now?
Okay.
Oh, and there's a slip. It is a slip. All right, Jake, how do you see it?
Okay, I have Darwin Price back ahead by 1 point. I gave him that 6th round. Semajay Thomas is doing the right things, charging in inside. I thought Price did a good job of landing clean punches and then getting out of the way every time Thomas came in. Darwin Price up by 1.
Price is coming back right now. Best round he's had in about 3, BJ.
Unfortunately, he's got, unfortunately maybe for him, he's got about 1 minute and 45 seconds left, so he's got to continue to follow his corner's instructions. You know, Ronnie Shields can tell him how to win this fight, and of course it's easier on the outside to say it, but there's some tough moments as a fighter, so he's got to go in there and really do what his corner's telling him. He gave him good advice.
And you heard at the end of that last round where Shields asked him, you want to win this fight? You want to win it. Sometimes you have to verbally get a little punch, don't you, to remind you to get back into things?
Put those words out in the universe. Tell yourself, it's a rhetorical question from Ronnie, of course. Of course he wants to win the fight, but Ronnie's telling him now, if you want to win, listen to what I'm saying, and I need you to execute that in the ring now. Not next round, but now. And I like a coach to come in and say, listen, this fight it can go either way, so we really got to make a move. And Ronnie's got that experience and that temperament to do that.
Well, the man has trained several champions.
There you go. Coming all over the place.
And at one time, was training both Price and Thomas. They were sparring partners. Price said he learned a little bit about Thomas, his in and out style. Thomas said he wasn't all that impressed with Price. So we would see what happened tonight. And we're seeing it now.
Back to the jab, son. Back to the jab.
So Thomas has been well traveled. The Chicago native went to Houston 2.5 years to work with Shields. Now bases his home in Dallas.
See Price finally starting to stay over his feet a little more in this round, but he still looks arm-weary to me, Kenny. So if you're a little tired and your arms are tired, those taunts and those feints, I can't keep saying it, it gives you a rest and a break to get those lactic acids out and with those combinations.
Final seconds of the 7th round. And 1 more to go. Darwin Price going to the corner with Ronnie Shields.
Don't come at you this round.
Listen, this guy is dead. Only chance he got to win this fight is to knock you out. You understand? You hear me?
Only chance. Don't play.
You understand me?
Chance.
So look, I need you to stick. I want a good stiff jab this round.
Shoot the shot. He's ducking. Shoot the shot. He'll short him up. Stop shooting the high shots. Walk to him. Hands up. He's going to make a move. Follow him. Cut him off. Here, there. Cut him off, okay? This might be it right here. I need everything you got. Everything you got.
Every shot is a killer shot for this guy. He knows nothing else. He don't have it here. You got it here, son. You understand? Use that. You are too college educated. Think about what you're doing. You understand? Let's go to work. This the last round. Let's go.
And there the corners of Price and Thomas, well-respected trainers in each corner, Ronnie Shields and Derek James, as we go into this, the 8th and final round, both men unbeaten. And one more check of Thomas, who has a cut on his cheek that was opened up about 3 rounds ago, a bloodied nose halfway into this fight, but he has battled on. They keep saying cut down the ring on him. What about the advice in the corner of Price where they think that Thomas has to knock him out to win this fight, though?
I don't know if I would tell my fighter that there's no way he can lose unless he gets knocked out. I'm going to, make sure my fighter's out there and does everything he can to win this 8th round. But I want to go to the corner of Thomas for a second. Derek told his fighter, hey, walk him down. He's going to make mistakes. No need to just let him escape every time you come forward. Just put your hands up, walk him down, attack his body.
And that has been the style of Semajay Thomas since about the middle of this fight. He's taken away the reach advantage that Darwin Price has.
The problem is, Kenny, and why he hasn't been able to take control of this fight is because when he comes in, he lunges with 1 punch. And if you can just take something off those punches, don't go for the home run, singles, doubles, triples, it doesn't have to be a home run swing every single time. So shoot the combinations, and that's how we can really chop Price down.
Jake Donovan unofficially giving Price that last round, a mobile strike scorecard.
Let's go.
Price with a slight lead now over Thomas, unofficially according to Jake. And Thomas Thomas, we talked about earlier, never passed the 4th round until tonight. And he hasn't slowed down.
No, he still came forward, Kenny, but unfortunately Thomas hasn't been able to be super effective. He's got a difficult style to deal with Price, but Thomas has not been able to chop his opponent down. He's lunged, he's missed, he hasn't put combinations together.
196 days since Thomas's last fight. That was right here in San Antonio back in December. And 225 days since the last fight for Price. Neither man showing any signs of a layoff here.
Once again, Thomas lunging in with a big punch and missing.
Price with a nice shot to the body.
And Thomas is having troubles too, Kenny, because when he loads up with those big shots, not only does he fall forward, but he gets himself off balance. And that's why he can't shoot the combinations, because the lack of balance doesn't allow him to shoot the next punches.
And even though Price is not able to get a great deal of leverage, he's still able to throw a tag out there every now and then when Thomas is coming in, BJ.
Exactly. Nice little right hand, left uppercut. Nothing fancy and nothing, Mike Tyson-esque, but I mean, he's still scoring those points, and he's outdoing Thomas in this round. Nice left uppercut again.
Final seconds of this fight. Semajay Thomas, 7-0 coming in. Darwin Price, 9-0. It would appear someone's O has to go as the clock ticks down. Entertaining way to start this evening, and they are hitting all the way to the bell and now embrace out of respect. And Thomas goes over to the corner to say hello to his former coach, Ronnie Shields. And Price shows respect as well, going over to the corner of Thomas and Derek James. Back here in San Antonio, Semajay Thomas and Darwin Price taking each other to the limit. It goes all 8 rounds. We take a look now at the final punch stats presented by Motel 6. 131 landed from Price. You see both men very active. Price with more effective in hitting 34%. The judges have made the decision. Ray Flores will read their verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we go to the scorecards here on your score totals. Judge Glenn Crocker scores the bout 79-72, and judges Ursulo Perez and Alfredo Esperon see the bout 80-71 for your winner by unanimous decision and still undefeated, Darwin Price.
Darwin Price now running his record to 10-0. The St. Louis Cardinal fan, as you can tell by the cap, that's his home city. Lives now in Houston, trains with Ronnie Shields. And there's Semajay Thomas, suffering his first career defeat as a pro, now at 7-1. He put up a game effort tonight, knocked down in the first round by Price. And Price has the win, and he's standing by now with BJ.
Thanks, Kenny. Darwin Price, congratulations on a big victory. You started off the fight with that big first round knockdown, looking good. He came back a little bit in those middle rounds. How did you feel like the fight went for you tonight?
Man, I feel like I have a lot of improvement to do. I feel like I give myself a C, man. I let my emotions take place to the fight. My first TV fight, my TV debut. But I got the W, that's all that matters. And I told you at the end of the night, I got 3 words, and that's pay the price. I'm coming for the top, baby.
Let's take a look at the knockdown really quick, Darwin. Looking in the first round, it looked like he was rushing at you. You caught him with a nice overhand right. Tell us what's going on here.
Here it comes. Ooh. That was a good one right there. I like that. It was cool, man. It was cool. Caught him with the overhand right. He leaves himself open a lot because he loads up with everything, but he's a great fighter. I take nothing away from him. That's my guy, man. Semajay Thomas is a great fighter. It's a sport. At the end of the day, it's a business. And outside the ring, that's my boy, man. But in the ring, no friends.
Lunging forward, you got him with a nice overhand right there. Now, Ronnie Shields told you in that fourth round, son, do you want to win this fight? You told him, yes, I want to win this fight, and it seemed like you came out with a little different mentality. What happened in that fourth round?
It got into my head. I need to stay smart. He's loading up on everything. He's trying to knock me out. That's the only way of taking me out is to knock me out because he can't outbox me. I was too fast. Jab was too long. I stayed smart, and I kept outboxing him and dodging the big shots, and there I go. I got the W.
Thank you so much, Darwin, and congratulations on a great victory.
Thank you so much. Pay the price.